In Savage Strike, we have one confirmed new card for Subterror, and that card not being Subterror Guru, but instead a new trap card by the name of Subterror Succession. This new trap card tries to improve the consistency of Subterrors while at the same time giving it more options. And so in today's video, I'm going to explain why Subterror Succession is terrible. So to understand why it's terrible, we gotta read its effects. So its effect is the following: activate one of these effects. Also after that, set this card face down instead of sending it to the graveyard. Send one monster from your hand or face-up field to the graveyard, and if you do, add one flip monster with the same attribute but different name than the sent monster from your deck to your hand. Send one flip monster from your hand or face-up field to the graveyard, and if you do, add one monster with the same attribute but with a lower original level than the sent monster from your deck to your hand. You can only activate one Subterror Succession per turn. So first off, I'm glad it's continuing the theme of resetting itself. However, that one aspect of this card alone doesn't make this card good. Remember, we have Subterror Final Battle, which is an absolutely amazing card for the strategy, as it can reset and flip face up any monster on the field that is a Subterror. However, as well, the fact is that card can set itself back down as well. So we wouldn't want to play this card specifically because of that clause, and this card does have a lot to live up to if it wants to be as good as Subterror Final Battle. However, spoiler alert,
it's not as good as Subterror Final Battle.
By the way, I'm gonna prelude this video by saying I am talking specifically about Subterrors with Subterror Guru, as the deck is not relevant without it, and I feel like talking about Subterrors without Guru would make no sense, considering this deck becomes entirely different if Subterror Guru comes out along with Subterror Succession in Savage Strike, just for example. So with that out of the way, this card is meant to help the consistency of Subterrors. You have two options with what to do with this card. Either one, you add a flip monster, or two, add any monster with the same attribute, but it has to be a lower level. So I'll get you guys to understand why that's relevant in a second, but first let's talk about the first option. Starting with the first effect, this is definitely interesting. It helps turbo out Guru, which makes sense. It makes 11 ways of getting access to Guru if we're talking about the 3 copies of Guru, the 3 hidden cities, and the 2 terraforming in the TCG. However, this is by far the worst search method of getting to Guru possible. You need another Earth monster to resolve this card, and while I still think that's not difficult, the fact you have to use another monster is very infuriating, as the deck is a control deck that wants its resources. For example, you don't want to use a Subterror Fiendus in your hand, as you want that to negate or reborn a card. It still gets access to Guru, sure, but you can also think about it in the sense that we're already playing 8 copies. Sure, 11 copies means even more access, but when you consider how this card is, while not entirely useless, very close to that point when you already drew a hidden city, for example, then what's even the point? Okay, to be fair, it's not necessarily super close to being useless. There are purposes for this card, which I'll get to in a second. However, this first effect is just really garbage, and I just want to emphasize my point that I really don't think that first effect does anything for the archetype. So the first effect is meant to search the big Subterrors by sending the smaller ones. However, the second effect is the opposite, in which you want to search the smaller Subterrors by sending the big Subterrors. I 100% think this is the better effect, considering regardless you can search Guru either way, but even then you can also search for the Fiendus on your opponent's turn, which means it can still be used as a hand trap. What's so cool is the fact regardless of sending one from hand, which is still a bad thing, but ignoring that, you get access to Fiendus on your opponent's turn, which is obviously great, because again, considering Subterror Fiendus is actually a hand trap, that just means that you can use it on your opponent's turn, making Succession basically a disruption in trade for a monster in your hand. However, I can't simply ignore the fact you have to send one, which again is a big cost. This is also very slow, as obviously it's a trap card. Now, to be fair, the deck is in general very slow. However, you want to have Guru access turn 1, and this card forces you to wait a second turn. I feel the biggest issue with this card is simply this card is a searcher for Subterrors, but Hidden City already does the exact same thing, but way better, no drawbacks, and as well it has additional effects. So, why would you play a not as good searcher when you can just play Hidden City, which is a million times better than this card. Now, to be fair, there are some niche scenarios where Subterror Succession is way better than Hidden City. And the big one I'm going to talk about is the only reason this card would even be remotely relevant is if Maxi was at even 1 copy, as that would make Maxi searchable for this deck through this card. Remember, it says a monster with a lower level but the same attribute. That means Maxi is also an Earth, and so what that infers is that you can use a Guru and search a Maxi. Now, that's actually a really big interaction to consider, and I definitely want to stress this, that if Maxi was at 1, Subterror Succession could potentially see more play. If we did have Maxi here, this would be an entirely different discussion. However, without it, I don't see this card getting played at all. In the end, this card increases the ceiling of seeing any Subterror in your deck along with more generic cards like Maxi. However, the big issue with this card is we already have Hidden City, which can do the exact same thing and then some, along with us not having Maxi in the TCG. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. Leave your comment down below with what you want to see as the next video topic, and your comment might just get picked for the next video and you might just get a shout out. As well, if you guys want to support me further than just watching my YouTube videos, go down into the description and support me on Patreon. It helps out quite immensely. As well, if you guys want to join me and other members of the BladeYGO community further than just watching my YouTube videos and the YouTube comment section, go down into the description and join my Discord server. I'd love to have you guys there. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and with that, I hope to see you soon.